fine. We're recording now, and so we'll see how this works out. And yeah,
Mm,
is so you think this is like technical? No, it's actually a very managerial and not managerial, but it's like a way. It's a philosophical difference. So okay, here's the
okay.
thing. I
Yeah.
no, really what happened here is like this guy who is trying to get from a technical perspective. You have C++ and C, right? It's all very technical and nuanced when you redo language, right? Rust is apparently somewhat similar, and they're trying to add bindings into Linux because everyone says that it's better for memory management. And
Hmm.
what happened is this guy who's been trying to lead it for 4 years is trying to add Rust bindings into Linux. But what happened is all the established people who've been in Linux, managing Linux, various parts of it for like decades, right? So, the older crowd, so to speak, they don't want to learn a new language. They don't want to move past C. And so this guy, basically, after 4 years, he decided just to, you know, give up on trying to add a new language into it.
Yeah.
And so
Makes
basically,
sense.
yeah. And so what happened is like, Linus, who's managing over Linux, is basically response. His response was like very hands off. He just said like, you really can't force developers to change. And so to me, the way I sort of see this is, it's like what happens in companies as well, is when you have something that you've always done things the exact same way, and then you have someone else
Mm,
trying to push the technology forward, and everyone else says, no, I'm not going to learn something new. And then what do you do with it?
well, I mean, as far as my understanding goes, right, is like Linux is fully open source, right? Is it
Yeah.
like an actual open source? Yeah, because
Yeah.
like
So,
there's a bunch of open source out there now, right? Which is just
yeah.
like this, oh, we're open source, but it's not actually, meeting the definition of open source. But in general, right? With Linus, you mean Linus Torvalds, or how is this guy
Yeah,
called?
Linus
Like,
Torvalds. Yeah,
yeah,
basically the owner or the dictator of
yeah,
Linux. Yeah,
creator, dictator of Linus. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's, I should be that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, fine. No, like I just noticed like one picture or like this one video of him where he just goes like "fuck you, Nvidia" or something like that. That's pretty
he
hilarious because he was so right on that.
he has a
Nvidia
very
sucks.
yeah he has a very abrasive personality. Sometimes people can't work with him, but honestly, it's sort of the old way of doing things.
Yeah, no, but like so I'm not into technicalities here at all, right? But I'm
Yeah,
thinking, um, at least that's as far as my very limited understanding on this matter goes, is that if something's open source, right, you obviously have, like the people that approve stuff as well, right, and the
yeah,
contributors and all of this thing. But like in this case, if like the majority doesn't want to learn a new language or implement something new or whatever, it's like it's even stupid from the beginning to attempt to change something that is, unwilling to change or like unlikely to change anyways. You know what I mean?
yeah. Uh,
Because like, why even go through the hassle and try to push it through when like when you can already feel that the support is not there in a sense, and you can't push it through alone because it's open source and it has to be approved by everyone and stuff like that. So it's basically one guy going into this,
no, not one guy. It's actually.
entire.
He's
Oh yeah,
actually it's actually he's part of a project, and there's other people. He just said he wants to be removed from the maintainer because he's just tired of it. So and I think that's what happened. It wasn't he was trying to change everyone. It's like there's a group of people, and there's actually a lot more people that think Rush should be a part of it. But
yeah,
he just got tired of he realized now that everywhere he turns is sort of hitting his head against a wall because you have these
yeah.
people. Yeah,
Well, that's how I feel most of the time when I try to do anything with anybody else.
yeah.
That's why I just stopped.
Yeah,
You know,
you know why? Is because like people, as people get older, they just don't like change, and that's the
Yes,
problem.
that's what we talked about yesterday, right? Like all
Yeah,
of the reasons why I'm having trouble doing any deals at this point with just like people here locally is because they're just, they're stubborn to change. They don't want to evolve. They're not, willing to do that. And then, you just end up getting ghosted or, mistreated badly or whatever because they just don't know how to get out of this. Like
yeah,
there may be a will in the beginning, but then, there's just, the fear and the stubbornness and the not willingness to change or do anything else or evolve, learn, develop itself, whatever, and then they're just like, you
yeah.
know.
I mean, there's a lot of said to be in comfort. Yeah, and I think it's a human nature just to keep things the same because, like, we used to, we have, our past basically says if you change, you have a possibility of dying. And in today's safe world, we still have that fear of change where we're not going to die. Just it's change, but we're still scared of it. And I think that's a lot of what happens. And so, and the problem I see with Linux is that, like for the foreseeable future, it's probably going to stick around. But it's like when you run into teams or other companies that if you don't adapt to change, you sort of have the risk of being left behind.
Well, yes, but Linux runs the world, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Runs the world, but I think someone actually said that Linux came around because there was Unix at the time, and it wasn't really ran correctly or by different companies. And he made a free software that ran it, and so there's always a possibility that somebody will create a different, um, fork
Yeah.
Linux in some way, and depends on the traction in the
So what
industry.
a different fork? Like you mean a different fork of Linux? Because there's like a billion forks of Linux out there, right?
Yeah, well, forks of the OS, but I mean of the Linux kernel, and things like that.
Oh,
And so, because like that's what they're trying to do is build kernel bindings for Rust. And so there's a lot of, and so to me, I think change sometimes, to me, change is always a balancing act. Do you want to, is it the risk of being, what's worse, the risk of instability? Because yeah, they know how everything works and things like that, but it runs very, very slow as far as change goes, or the risk of being left behind and not adapting to the change. And I think,
balancing.
huh?
It's a balancing act, right?
It
It's like,
is. And
yeah.
it's, yeah. And I think to me, honestly, at the end of the day, I think Linus is sort of like the one who's just sort of hands off and letting it sort it out. I think that's the wrong decision. Like, where does he think it should go? Because I think a lot of times you can't really get change unless if you have the leaders on top that says this is what we're doing and why.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the opposite and the downside of open source in general, right? Or
Yeah.
anything that is like done by multiple parties and just, the complexity there just, gets very big, and that's the same reason why big companies fail to make correct decisions or just,
Yeah.
have their downward spiral. It's just they're basically their, financial, literally basically the boatload of money that they have, sitting in their accounts that is basically keeping them afloat. But, that's gonna come at the risk of long-term, failure, in my opinion, at least. That's why when I was investing in stuff, I was always looking is like, what's the rate of innovation still going on at these big businesses? Because if you look at like, big corporations like, HP or whatever in the US or like just
Mm.
in general, like these conglomerates, right? Is like, what the fuck are they even innovating anymore? Like they're not doing anything. They're not contributing anything to fundamental technology at all, which
Yeah.
means that innovation R&D is basically ass at these companies,
Yeah.
It's like, and that's gonna lead to long-term death. Like, of course, they just have their market share and all of that stuff, but there's no excitement in that. And if you look at, how their stocks go and whatever, it's just a slow up and downward spiral. Like it is just like, there is no excitement in that, and there is basically the world wouldn't be worse off, if they would just explode, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I just, you know,
Yeah, that's a good way to put
and,
it. Yeah.
yeah, that's the case, dude.
No, but it's
Yeah,
like,
look at Nvidia, for example, like they're the complete opposite. Like they're pushing boundaries and boundaries and boundaries, despite them being a multi-trillion-dollar company.
wait, who?
It's like
Who did you say again?
Nvidia.
Oh yeah, Nvidia. Yeah. Yeah, now
Yeah,
they're actually
right. Like,
have,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, of course, now they're having a great time and all of the stuff, and they can ride the AI bullshit wave and all of this thing, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, sure, but at least they're pioneering, and at least they're doing shit that actually makes sense, makes progress, facilitates the world to evolve in some shape or form, at least, which
Yeah,
is
and no, it reminds me of a story. I don't know if you've been following about Concord the game. Have you heard
I
about
have no
that?
idea.
Oh man, no, no, no. This was let me
I
see,
know the plane. Wait, did you say the game or the plane?
the game.
Oh, I don't.
Okay,
I know Concord.
okay. So okay, here, let me give you just a important update on Concord. Okay, This
Is
is
it
this is a
game developed?
synopsis of this, right? Concord. Actually, let me go to Wikipedia. I think so. Concord itself was was started to be built in 2018, and it spent like 8 years or so trying to be built, and 6 or 8 years, hundreds of millions of dollars, if I believe. It was released on August, yeah, mid to late August, so a couple weeks ago, and it was built by Sony. And so what happened was, after it was released, the Sony AAA game only had 600 or so people concurrently. So there was basically no one. And within 2 weeks, they're now refunding everyone from this $100 million game. And so and they're shutting down the servers tomorrow. It's like an Overwatch competitor.
Oh,
And so yeah, so 8 years in development. So this is a recent one. So this was released yesterday, right? And
well, here is already the fundamental flaw in this. Actually, just let me grab some water. I'll be back in a second.
okay, all right, yeah, no, and so would be shutting down on September 6th. Let's try this.
So, okay, I'm
So
back. Can you hear
okay,
me?
So yeah, no, it's funny. This thing had like so many different things. So first off, it's a terrible game. Everyone played it, but they're like
Yeah,
blaming.
wait.
Oh,
How about you stop there for a second? Because like
sure.
I'm gonna make a wild statement here, okay? But because I've literally it's something that I've zero idea about. I haven't even heard of it. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because like I'm trying to make a living here, so I'm not addicted to games anymore like I was 5 years ago and playing CS:GO all day and killing
Oh yeah,
people.
you're growing up. You're now a responsible adult like everybody else.
Yes, responsible in handling my anxiety and panic attacks. Yeah, no. So what I
Yeah.
wanted to say is like when I hear
Yeah.
in development for 8 years and it's a competitor to something that already exists,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I always write off as a failure because it's like it's like okay, sure, like I know game development takes time. I know the process, trust me. Like I've even when I had the money for it, I even tried to like using Unreal Engine 5 and all of this shit. Like I even tried to hire some devs and do a little project that I wanted to do or at least test out, just with like one level to as a proof of concept, right? And it is incredibly hard, and the complexity involved in, especially if you have a proprietary engine and all of this stuff, like it is no joke. Like
Mm-hmm.
creating a good game is no fucking joke. And the amount of experience and expertise that it requires in all areas from literally, from UI to UX to everything basically, to game mechanics and all this shit. It's like it's really, really hard to get it right. It's hard to get
Yeah.
it right. But especially when you're talking about, the game starting off wanting to be a competitor to something that is already successful, like the Overwatch series, right? I mean, I'm not sure that Overwatch 1 already exists 8 years ago, like
I
the
think
first
so.
one.
Yeah, I think Overwatch
Okay,
2 was released sometime during COVID, if I remember correctly. Yeah, but it
yeah,
was
yeah, right,
yeah,
right,
2018. It was
exactly.
definitely around. Yeah, just Overwatch 1.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so yeah, and it was like,
2018?
huh?
2018? Was that fucking 8 years ago?
Yeah, or 6 years ago. Yeah. Well,
Oh,
no,
yeah, 6 years ago.
I think
Yeah,
it's six
excuse
years
me.
ago. But yeah, let me see what it says. 8 years in development, right? So they talk about this. Oh yeah, launched Play Concord. The game has been in development for 8 years. It's been almost five of, you know.
Five of them.
Oh, this guy has been there almost five. So yeah, maybe it was a little bit
Oh,
before. Yeah, I don't.
okay. Yeah, anyway. So what I was trying to say is
Yeah,
like, okay, sure, if it's 8 years in development, then maybe the first Overwatch wasn't out yet, but I think it probably was out in like 2015 or something like that. It should have
here.
been out. At least I remember Overwatch being a thing and like, let's see, just Google it up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 2016. So it probably yeah, that's about 8 years ago. So yeah, that would make sense. If it was in, they probably started development once it was released.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, assuming that it was released in being to be a competitor to the thing that just came out, which makes little sense because there's no
Yeah,
proof of long-term success for that, and so therefore you're not a good, financial outlook maybe, or at least certainty to invest that capital. But in general, if let's just say, we'll just go with the premise to make my point seem more reasonable. But
yeah,
if you say 8 years ago, right,
yeah,
we're in development, right, to be a competitor for something that is already successful. Okay, cool. So if you need a development cycle of 8 years to make that real, the game industry moves very fast, so
yeah,
does everything else, right? But usually the fundamental concepts they evolve very slowly, right? Which means that, like if you look at FPS games, for example, or MMOs or whatever,
yeah,
is like there's a bunch of them. Like there's, for example, there's CS:GO and there's Valorant, right? For example, and then there is something else, right? Or like it was, with PUBG at first, right? And then there was,
yeah,
Fortnite, and everything. But fundamentally, like it's battle royale. Like the border is closing in, and it's the same concept. The other one sure has more realistic graphics. The other one has fucking, dancing. I'm not gonna say what, but like I don't know, dancing people in costumes or whatever, and it's just different, running on different engine. But the game mechanics and what you can do is similar. Yes, you can build in the other one you can't, and so on and so forth. But the concept stays the same. The same as with FPS shooters, right? I mean, Valorant is a tactical, FPS shooter, so is CS, right, to a degree.
yeah,
And the reaction times and how it plays and the maps, they're similar. They're just different, in how they look, and some mechanics are different and some stuff that you can do. But for example, the smoke grenade translates into the magic balloon that's pink, and this obstructs the view. Like
yeah,
it's the same thing, right? Technically seen, and yeah, there's some nuances, but in general, I think that that point can be relatable. And so you say, okay, fine, now you have something that you try to clone. It takes you 8 years, bro. Like, come on, like at that the point you're gonna have success with your 8-year-old concept at that point, especially when the other game has had time to evolve and react to user feedback, see what works, see what's profitable, see what's not, and really feed on that. It's like the chances of success are very low if you start off with something that isn't at least to a degree nuanced. So I don't know this game, right? What I mean
Yeah.
is like I have no idea how different it is to Overwatch or whatever, but like it has to have a degree of uniqueness and a degree of basically a USP that stands out, right?
Yeah.
um Enough to differentiate yourself, right, from what will be out in the future as well. It has to have a degree of uniqueness to it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only way that you can make a new game succeed, if it takes you so long to make it. Because sure, if you can just pump out a clone in like a year, then of course, take a successful concept, clone it, market it better, and attract the kiddies with some loot boxes and get sued a couple times, and that's it. You just make a boatload of money with that.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be fine, right? But
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
like that's why it's like fundamentally I already see something wrong with that. It
Yeah.
takes you 8 years to make something as a clone of something that already exists. Like, bro,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
and that I think this goes back to what you were talking about like like 5-10 minutes ago now, where you're talking about HP, about big companies innovative. And so this is a great example where Sony is like so big that they just actually try to copy and throw money at it rather than trying to innovate in a different way. And it's surprising how this thing, they closed shop in less than like 2 or 3 weeks of it being released, because it was that bad, and it was only online, because there's not even enough people to play a healthy game, or you're gonna play with the same people. Imagine that, a AAA
Go
game.
look up some gameplay on YouTube.
Oh no,
Look up some game.
yeah, like yeah, let's see. Concord being shut down, like
But I want to see. I don't care about any stupid YouTubers giving their opinions on it. I just want to see like actual gameplay.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, this game I'm gonna
Do you
play
hear the
is
sound?
Because he's a giant Ben.
the industrial vacuum. How is that a weapon? You gain charges by filling your industrial vacuum.
In OBS.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the sound because it was loud. But yeah, like if you look at this, the other thing is like the feel doesn't look like it's like Overwatch.
Oh my god! Even how it threw that shit, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you can see sort of like Overwatch, but the thing is, like, I've seen people play, like, the levels are much, but you see how spread out things are. Like how Overwatch is very, people are working together. This one is very individual because it's a huge level, and that's the problem that I'm seeing with this right now.
Oh, dude, there's a billion problems already in terms of like even how this plays, right? It's like the
yeah.
is
Dude. Okay, well, before I also go into this, let me tell you something. Imagine playing this, and one of the rules that they have or built into the game is that if you win with a character, you're not allowed to play that character again, at least for the match.
Yeah, that is gonna significantly reduce retention in the game for sure for people, because people really like sticking to a character, always playing that and getting better at that.
Yeah.
So just having that is gonna quite be opposed to people. You know what I mean?
So yeah. This is
like,
it.
I always choose this character because I like playing this fat dude, for example. He's slow but he's powerful.
Yeah. But yeah,
but sure.
And so this is a game, and so when it was released, it only had like less than that. I think 600 or 700 on Steam is like the max that actually concurrent users. Whereas and the thing is like IGN rated this game as a 7. That was also part of the controversy, where there's another game that sold 10 million copies in the first like day or two, or first week, something like that, and they rated it an 8. So if you can imagine IGN, which is a game company review, this one, which closed shop after a couple weeks, is 7. The other one's an 8. And it was like, so it's funny. And there's a lot of controversy around this one.
Here's the thing that I have learned from being a professional video game addict for quite a while.
Okay. You mean addict? Yeah.
Yes, I said addict. What did I say?
I thought you said manic. Maybe you said addict.
Oh, no, addict. I said addict. Yeah, but hopefully my mic somewhat works, dude. Otherwise I'm going to seem more stupid than I already am.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I know it's fine for you.
Oh, yeah, I just mock you. No, don't worry.
Yeah. No, like, what do I want to say? So, if you actually, I just lost my entire history in my brain.
ADHD.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm destroyed today, as you can tell.
Yeah. No, but like, So yeah, we're talking about like game reviews and things like that. How
But
like
like one thing that I learned from being a professional video game addict, right?
yeah,
So that is really that, it doesn't matter
hmm
if the game is reviewed well or not. What
yeah,
matters is if you and your friends or whoever you're playing it can enjoy the game.
yeah,
And game enjoyment
hmm
is not always dependent on how objectively good, well coded, whatever the game is.
yeah,
It's sometimes you can have fun with a very fucking stupid game,
yeah,
that is ass to play, but it's just funny and it gives you a good time. And that's not going to be a game that you really get addicted to, but it's fun to play, or it's fun to try it out. And sometimes games have cool concepts or unique ideas or anything like that in them that you make it very entertaining to play. And those are oftentimes these indie games and whatever. And yeah, they have shitty reviews sometimes. And, even YouTubers that usually do good reviews may rate a game shit and you can still enjoy it. Of course, now there is games that are just plainly shit. They just suck ass, right?
yeah,
Because like there's a bunch of bugs. They lag around. They're not optimized at all. There's a bunch of game mechanics that are just annoying to use, and it's just not a pleasure to play at all. I'm sure those games deserve bad reviews, but in general, like especially these big companies there's always a financial incentive in any type of review, even if they claim to be objective. It's the same with
yeah,
news, right? And so even if they do their best to be like objective, there's always some sort of bias or something that they have to hit, or some contract that they have at some point going on with that publisher, and they don't want to ruin a relationship
yeah,
or whatever internally. And so just fucking play the game honestly. If you're not sure if you're gonna like it, dude, especially with like offline games or whatever, like I'm not in support of that, right? But like even crack it if you're not sure if you want to buy it, and then buy it if you like it. But like, yeah, go sue me. But
yeah,
like, that's what I did. And it's like most of the stuff
yeah,
isn't worth adding.
yeah,
It's just not,
yeah.
you know.
No, and it's like what you said about the game developers. It reminds me of when I was working SOC 2 certification, right, which is a security certification. And the thing is,
Yeah.
it's an officially industry standard. And it's funny when you are a company that audits and does certification, you do have that balancing act of having a prestige of saying we do certify that they follow the process and that everyone knows, but also they also have the they don't want to lose the business of the person they're certifying. And not they're going to like break anything, but it's like I realize for them it's sort of like that balancing act. And so it's probably the same thing with reviewers, but I think with IGN, the fact that they rated 7 versus a game that just closed shop and an 8 for one that's wildly popular out of 10, to me that's just crazy, because then they may have the financial stuff with Sony, but then they also lose a viewership, a lack of trust with viewership. And
Of course they do, of course. But there's like,
yeah,
you see, that's the thing is like, these things aren't easy to evaluate if you don't have the inside information, because it may actually be the case that just the people, that were assigned to, create that review or whatever, or look at it or whatever,
hmm
they just really liked the fucking game and they
yeah,
gave it a 7. They didn't compare it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
could genuinely be the case. So it's like, that's why like a review is always an opinion,
yeah,
no matter how, to a degree, right? And so, what make your fucking form your own opinion,
yeah.
people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
No, they do. I think no, everyone does with video games, and it's through the money
I'm
and
not
the
saying
fact.
reviews are not helpful or that you shouldn't listen to them, or whatever. Like they can
Yeah,
be cool, but like at the end of the day, if you really want to know how something is, you got to do it yourself.
oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
And then see for yourself, because it's subjective, right? Everyone perceives stuff differently.
hmm
Oh, the thing is shoots too slow, it's very annoying, and they get annoyed because the map is so big and I have to run around. Oh, the other fucking dude says, oh, actually it's quite relaxing that not everything is so fast paced. I
yeah,
really enjoyed this kind of new play style, blah blah, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. So I haven't touched the video game in over 2 years now.
yeah. Really?
So no, I haven't. Because
Yeah.
I've been on this fucking MacBook that has the graphic capability of like a fucking GTX 530. It's like it sucks.
Hey, I
Can't
mean
run shit.
that's good. It makes you miserable computer makes you a better adult, and so now you're exactly.
My wonderful PC broke when you sent it back.
Oh
Or
yeah.
we went. By the way, was it broken when I sent it to you
No,
already, and then you just
I never opened it up, and so that was the one thing when I sent it back. It was like I made sure because I didn't want to open it up and things like that because
yeah.
because you never know, and then that means I have to repackage it and things like that. So I forgot to
Yeah.
check.
Well, it was smart anyways for you not to open up, because otherwise I would have been like, well, Brian, you must have, packaged this shit wrong, and now my $7,000 PC is water cooled shit is like fucked up. It's
Yeah.
all your fault.
I know, exactly. Exactly. That's how I live life, is trying to avoid blame at all costs. Or at least if I get blamed, try to pull one other person down with me. So, and you're it, Silas. Everything that I get blamed for, I'm going to try to pull you down. So,
well, you're already pulling me down for making me do this shit. By the way, I did not consent to publishing this bullshit, but sure.
no, don't worry. We'll see. I'm still gonna publish it, but at least just to my friends. I'm not gonna do it publicly or anything like that. I mean, no one looks at my account anyway, so it's all good on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna publish it until I get a DMCA request from you. It'll be like,
DMCA takedown. Use of Silas's face.
Exactly. No, we'll see. Anyway, well, all right. Well, we did 25 minutes. This will be good enough. And so, yeah, it's the shortest 25 minutes I spent with you. At least it feels like. It feels like every time when it's not recorded, it goes on for 3 hours. This is a way.
Don't say that. I know what you're gonna say. Don't say it. Don't say it. No, we're not gonna record all the time. So I shut the fuck up. Fuck you. No.
Okay. Well, all right. Now that you're in a very
wildly racist statement now that I'm not actually. But then you get banned off YouTube. How about that?
No. Okay. Well, we're gonna stop right now before you get canceled, because I'm not, because everyone likes me. So, all right. This is it. I'm gonna hang up now. All right. For those who are watching, bye, and I'm sorry that you had to go through all this.